Just a couple of random questions here, Jack, on the morning of the game. First off, when Miles Wood is in on the forecheck like that, and you're watching what that line does and what they did on Saturday, what kind of a lift does that give the team?
No, yeah, the line's been playing really good for us all year. So him and Mikey, they brought it on Saturday, and I know we're missing Bass right now, but Z's done a good job on that line too. So they've been playing really well.
Do you look at Woody's speed and his, I won't call it reckless abandon, he's got some direction that he's headed, but what he brings with by upending and upsetting the apple cart?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely brings different elements to our team. So he's had a really good year so far, and we hope he keeps it going.
For you, not personally, but from a team standpoint, Lydia said you got to get, as a team, to your speed faster than you did against Philadelphia. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, probably came out flat, but I don't know, that's something we'll work on. We've had really good first periods. We've had first periods where we've struggled, so we just got to be ready to come out of the gates fast.
But just in general, how do you get to a quick game?
I don't know. I mean, I guess just putting pucks in the right spot, being connected as a unit. So, yeah.
You talked about the forecheck and having to create some speed because the team was a little slow on Saturday. Lindy talked about the need to get to the game, the fast game. How do you get to the fast game?
Well, it starts in the first period. I think we got to get into bodies and we got to get it in deep. We can't mess around at the blue line, and it's about getting it in deep in the first 5-10 minutes of the first period and kind of getting some energy going that way. And then as the game goes on, then we start making more plays.
Going back quickly to Miles, obviously he wasn't here all last year. What's it like just having him around again, having him on the bench, having that voice?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. He's obviously a leader for us, and he's a great player. He's consistent every night, and you know what you're going to get from him, and I love playing with him. So.
Going bar down in practice, is that just kind of warm up for what you're going to do tonight?
Yeah, hopefully I don't waste it.
Did you surprise yourself on that?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I missed before when Maddie was here, but with Bass out and how you guys have been playing so well, what does sort of Z bring to that element that maybe complements what Bass was doing?
Yeah, Bass is obviously an awesome player to play with and brings so much to the team, and Z's great too. He could get in the forecheck also, and he could also stay out in the slot, and he's got a great shot and kind of have to find him when he's open, and good chances going in the net. So.
What do you sort of feel needs to be done as a team? Like we've talked about this a lot, those first periods, maybe those first 5 minutes. How does that, how do you make that shift to being a little more playing your game?
I think it's honestly just getting the puck in early and getting in on the forecheck. That just simplifying early and not turning it over at the blue line in the first 5-10 minutes and just kind of letting the game come to us, but also just simplifying and getting it in.
Brendan, I'm just wondering, when you go back over that Philly game, I know everyone has that looking forward mentality, but what cannot be replicated anymore going forward from a game like that?
Our starts.
Here we go again.
Yeah, it's obviously an area we just continue to harp on. I think attention to detail is going to be those two things, and that's where our starts have been kind of lacking. We talked about it. I think the one area that we've been good at, but we weren't in Philly, was our speed. I don't think our legs were moving, and that's been a difference. I think that's what if you talk to other teams, they say that we're very fast is because we're skating and we're moving the puck, and I don't think we had that in Philly. So now if we get that back and then we kind of bunker down on the areas of a better start and attention to detail, I think that's what we're striving to continue to get better at, and that's what we practiced this morning, kind of change things up just to make sure that we're trying to get ourselves prepared for the puck drop.
But why can you access it later in the game and not at the beginning?
Well, I think you're just like revving, and we want to be already going at that time, and so at that moment we're into it, right? And the second periods, I feel maybe our best period. I mean, we've done a good job in the thirds because we've been set up through the second, and we're trying to basically finish the game out. So I've been happy with our seconds and our thirds. It's just that first, and to me, it's like the first 5-10 minutes. Like we got to get pucks in and just establish our game, and from that point, I think then you can fold into the flow. And we're good when we're in the flow. We just have to get to that point, and instead of like revving that motor right off the bat, we want to be started right from the puck drop. And I'm interested to see how this goes for all of us. I mean, as a veteran guy, I can keep harping on it, and I'm going to keep trying to find different ways to get us going. We've had some good starts, but the ones that we haven't, they've affected us.
Brendan, I would say how much of that is when you're going against like a heavy type forecheck, because when you have no space, no time, you aren't able to set up those breakouts to really get the transition game.
For sure, that's an impact. I mean, the league is good. There's good players on the other team, and you have to find a way. And obviously, the heavier the team, their skill is to get on the forecheck and make it hard on us. And I guess if we play teams that aren't as heavy of a forecheck, we break out easier and we can kind of get our flow. But I guess a heavier team does have an impact there. But at the end of the day, everybody's good. Everybody, all four lines. I look at these rosters now, and there's no real weak players anymore. Like I remember, you kind of had your goons when I came in the game, and you could kind of skate them. It's not really like that anymore. So everybody's good. Everybody's got skill. You just got to start on time, and that's. That can be fixed. That's a good thing. Like that's impactful. If you're not scoring goals, that's an area where I don't know if that can be fixed. That's just kind of a skill thing. But this is an area that just it's a mentality. It's attention to detail, and it's to get ourselves going. So that's a big area that we've been talking about, and we got to get going.
Devils have the largest division lead of any team in the NHL. What have you established at this point?
I didn't know that. I checked the stats, but I don't look them as detailed as probably you do and everybody else. I think, to me, we try not to look at them as much. We just want to, like, I know it's cliche, but it's like every shift by shift play, every game by game. Like, don't try to look into the future. You just try to come out and be prepared, and I think you give yourself the best chance to be successful. Yes, we know them, not as in depth, but we understand what's out there. I mean, guys watched the Boston Knights game last night and tuned in. Obviously, great game, and so we're aware of what's going on in the league. But for us, it's how we play, and we dictate the game. I think just because of our skill and our speed, and we play our style. I think that's what gives us the best chance. So we try not to look at too much detail, but. We understand what's at stake, and we understand how many points you got to do to get into this league or into the playoffs.
Right on a night like that night in Philly when the speed and skill game wasn't necessarily working. Those first two goals come off a dump, chase, create a turnover, put it in, then put pressure on Hart and a turnover that leads to a dump in. Was it nice to know that you still have like that second game you guys can go to and create 2 points out of it when your main game's not working?
100%. I think that was the big thing that we talked about, and we've been preaching, for myself for sure, is that you have to win in different ways. You can't just outskill teams because that doesn't always happen. And you have to find ways to get the dirty goals or the grind goals. And we've been lucky to have a lot of that with, let's just, for instance, the BMW line, if that's what we're calling that, they get those goals and you need them, and they're crucial at moments. So yeah, when things aren't going as well, maybe our foot speed isn't as great or our skill isn't as high, you got to find a way to score, and grinding goals is a big impact there. And so it's good to get, it's nice to have that feedback right away. That's an instant feedback, which is good because that is a way. And once things get harder, once you get closer to playoffs, after Christmas time, into playoffs, you score more goals that way. It's hard to skill the puck into the back of the net. There will be times for obviously the power play, but it's the grind goals, and so that's what we have to kind of keep evolving and maturing to. And I think that was good instant feedback for us, but it's just not a one day thing, one game thing. You got to keep doing it.
What do you think your brother's?
Yeah, he makes me feel bad because he's so good. No, it's I had that. It's a testament to what he's done for a long time. I mean, in the summers, I'm playing defense a lot against his skill. So I know my parents were happy, and I'm happy for him. It was good.
Just a handful of games this week. How do you approach the extra time, quote unquote, that you have, and how do you use it?
Well, working on areas of our game that smaller details, even executing different plays, 5-on-6, where we want the pressure to come from, and dealing with stuff that you don't have a lot of time for normally when you're playing, 3 games in 4 and 4 and 6.
And so there's also then an energy boost that's gotten because it's not game, day off, game.
Well, you would hope that the fact we're not playing as much. Sometimes when you're playing a lot, you get in a pretty good rhythm, and you carry your energy from game to game. I feel that yesterday's practice was shorter, was quick. We're hoping to let the guys refresh, and we hope that shows up in tonight's game.
Yeah, even Brendan was saying this morning you changed things up a little bit just to kind of create some energy.
Yeah, we changed around a few meetings. We decided to skate as a team. Talked about a few other things inside one of the drills we did in the morning skate.
Last week I asked you about Jack, and you talked about details in his game and how they've, that's where the maturity is in his game. Do you see Jack Hughes as a player now who has that takeover ability, where he, if you need something, he can go out and have a dominant shift for it?
Well, I think he's definitely the guy that we look to when, you're tied or you're down a goal to make that special play that can either tie a game, get us a lead. But I think the growth of his game has come even the fact that when you're up by 1, he's getting plenty of ice time.
And that's obviously why is that? I wonder, you talk about the growth of his game. What are those little details that he does well so you're comfortable now doing it?
Well, the details are doing the right thing when you're on the ice. That's the play away from the puck, where you're positioning. Where were you? Were you in the right spot? Did you support the play? Did you stay underneath the puck defensively? Were you in the shot lane and discouraged the shot? All those small details become a big thing when you're dealing with your last maybe 30, 40 seconds in a game.
Do you think, in a game like Saturday, when the speed and skill game might not have been there, the first 2 goals were really gritty goals off dump-ins or forcing turnovers? Is that a good reminder to your guys that you have that second game that you can go to when you need to?
Well, obviously when you're in a tight game, and you got to give Philly a lot of credit. They played well. They didn't give up any of the odd-numbered stuff. You got to get pucks in, and you've got to try to win those battles at times. If you have more space and you have more time, you take it and you try to make your best play. A lot of times they did a great job of taking our time away, and once you get it below the goal line, we've been a pretty good team at forechecking, creating turnovers, and scoring those types of goals.
Andy, why do you think Patrick Kane has been able to maintain the consistency he's shown, even at his age and what he's doing?
Because he's one hell of a player. He's got, obviously he's won a couple cups. He's an elite passer. He's an elite shooter. He can make plays that a lot of players can't make. He's that good a player. And I think his skating, his vision is up there with all the elite players, and that's the reason that he can continue to play and play at a high level.
Do you see any similarities? Taves and Heischer, 3rd pick, 1st pick. Hughes and Kane, 1st pick, 1st pick. Even though Patrick and Jack play different positions, are there some similarities to what those two brought to Chicago? What those two might be here?
I think it's a great comparison because I've been around Taves at the Olympics, and he's a Bergeron-like player, that a great two-way game. You can always mention him when it comes to somebody that plays extremely well on both ends of the rink. Can be a dynamic scorer, can be a great defender, can play in all situations. And then you can look at the elite skill, the elite one-on-one skill that both Kane and Jack can provide. Elite scoring, goals that I think those two guys can score goals that the other two guys can't. And that's probably what separates them.
And lastly, when you see Miles Wood coming as hard as he does on the forecheck, do you say something good's going to happen for us?
Usually, yeah. And I think that is the strength. I think the other team realizes that they don't really want to get back there first when you got Miles coming as fast as he's coming. But he's got that explosive speed that sometimes you're with him and then all of a sudden he's by you, which creates a lot of issues for the opposition.
Lindy, Patrick Sharp is on the Chicago Blackhawks broadcast tonight. Do you have any good Patrick Sharp stories from coaching him?
Probably one of the. I don't have any great stories, but I can just tell you that when we put those two guys, Aduya and Sharp, inside our dressing room, and you've got guys that have won the Stanley Cup, that all of a sudden we were a better team. A lot of respect for really the way he played, and really trade a lot of conversation about what they did in Chicago and how they did their business and how they went about winning. So it was just stuff that I could put in the memory bank and continue to use.
He says hello.
Thank you. Tell him I said hello.